There's nothing wrong with fake asses. Let's turn around, let's make magic. I'm geeking out, I'm on it. Don't look at me like you want it. Tell them that we ain't stunning. We're fourth, girl, we ain't punning. The king of the stack, I love it. Can't come in without a permit.
All right. What's good? You are now watching Juke Boy Sports Show. I am your host, Kyng Ralph. Source drink. Hope everybody's doing good out there in TV land. But we're here with a solo dolo show. And let's just get to it. So if you want to do any podcasts like what you're watching, photo shoots, music videos, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And if you notice my cup and seeing the show on Tuesday, we got a new, where's it at? There it is. We got a new, there we go. Still working out the kinks. But we got a new sponsor, W Energy Drink. If you want a jitterless, clean filling, no crash energy drink, go on W.com, use promo code JUKE, J-U-K, for 20% off. And make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share, all that good stuff. Carbonation messing your boy up. But like the He Say, She Say channel on Facebook. Subscribe at Juke Media or Joint Universal Creators with a K on YouTube. Trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Make sure you go and follow Juke Sports Show on Instagram. And then you can follow me at KYNG RALPH on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, add an underscore for X or Twitter. And let's get into it. So the Chiefs last night eke out a victory against the Ravens. A lot of controversy, a lot of hoopla. Some of it I feel like is about nothing. But Chiefs win 27-20. Lamar Jackson scrambles, throws a pass to Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely catches it, comes down, touchdown. But after reviewing it, officials come to the conclusion after watching the video, his foot came down on the line, on the back end zone line, so they negate the touchdown, and Ravens lose. And so I feel like Lamar did some good things. There was some bad things that happened. I feel like Patrick Mahomes had a decent game. Didn't have the greatest game, considering the hype that he has versus where Lamar is. I honestly feel like if Lamar doesn't have that strip sack, Lamar outplayed Pat in this game. And so both defenses in the second half were doing their thing. I feel like the Chiefs' defense was a little better in the first half, and the Ravens' defense was better in the second half. But also, in the end, I feel like it just wasn't enough plays that the Ravens were making. There's definitely some play calling issues. I don't know what it is about Todd Monken and the fact that when he plays the Chiefs, he just wants to throw the ball. Lamar throwing the ball 41 times, I feel like it's just not it's not a recipe for success. Not saying that he can't, but I just feel like you sign Derrick Henry and then you only give him 13 carries. Lamar throws the ball 41 times. He has more carries than Derrick Henry. And it's just one of those things where Lamar ends up having to do too much once again. And for almost 400 yards, I think he had 395 yards of total offense, 122 yards on the ground, 273 in the air, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, but he did have a fumble, which is one of those things that has plagued him over the years, is fumbling the ball when running versus and also in the pocket. Chris Jones had a hell of a game, very disruptive, play after play after play. The Ravens were starting 3 new starters, and he took took advantage of it. It's essentially. But I feel like I still feel comfortable in my predictions that I made. I still feel like the Ravens are going to be deep in the playoffs, get to a Super Bowl. I just feel like there were some things here that they need to learn and work out the kinks when it comes to just situational football. I feel like there's a play toward the end of the game, the play before the play that I just described, where Zay Flowers is running across the middle. Lamar scrambles, throws a pass, and it goes wide. I do feel like in that moment, as a person that did play quarterback and I've watched a lot of football to the point where I've coached, and I feel like these are, or I could coach, not that I have coached. I've definitely trained some people and worked with some people when it comes to football and watching film, but I've watched enough film to where there's certain wide receivers that have actually confirmed what I was thinking. Even AB, say what he is, but he's a hell of a wide receiver. Where when Zay Flowers is coming through that zone, he should have sat down or essentially stopped running in the soft spot of that zone. He keeps running, and Lamar throws it to the soft spot of the zone, and it looks like Lamar is being inaccurate, which is something that has been plagued his career. But I feel like in that moment, it wasn't a moment of inaccuracy. I think it's a moment of not being on the same page and thinking like, all right, he's thinking, oh, I'm gonna just keep running through. He gonna hit me as I run through. Where Lamar is thinking, all right, there's a soft spot in the zone. I'm gonna step up. He's gonna sit in the soft spot, and I can hit him right in the numbers. And it ends up going wide. And now we're looking at Lamar as like, oh, see, there he goes again with these inaccuracies and the big moments in big games. And I feel like that's not necessarily fair. There's another thing. So the referees, the officials, the zebras, whatever you want to call them, they call 4 illegal formation flags. They call a roughing the passer earlier in the game, and not early in the game. It's like around the second or third quarter. And I feel like it was a moment in which it was the Ravens are trying to get momentum. They get off the field. Now there's a roughing the passer. This one, I feel like the more angles I see, the more I feel like it's not roughing the passer. But then in this day and age, any defender hits the quarterback above the numbers, you're just going to get a penalty. Like when I watched it originally, I thought he hit him in the face, but then the more I watch it, his Matabuke's right hand hits this part of his shoulder. And that's where it's like, all right, like I can get it why you would call that, but it's football at the end of the day. And I feel like too often referees protect the Chiefs. And as a person that watches my team play them, I'm a Raider fan. I watch my team play the Chiefs twice every year. I just feel like they get calls and whistles that other teams are not getting. Like Jawan Taylor, right tackle for the Chiefs, multiple times he's getting off the ball before the ball is snapped, and that should be a false start. But they're not calling anything. There's a holding penalty that they don't call from him, and it's just coincidentally that it happens in moments in which a big play happens for the Chiefs. And those are the things for me that I don't like to see. If the Ravens just lose a game and they lost, it just is what it is. At the end of the day, you got to tip your hat to the better team. But when you're sitting there and you're going like a holding call, Mahomes, if you miss the holding call, Mahomes escapes the pocket, throws a touchdown, you're affecting the game in a way in which it's not just being on the field, because you're not calling it. You're calling that on the other side for the Ravens. There was a few plays. Lamar escapes the pocket, throws a pass, 15-yard completion or 15-yard run, and now it's being called back because such and such was holding. And it's like just call it even and be consistent. And that's the part for me as a fan, although I am a Lamar Jackson fan, so there's a little bit of bias there. And I very much strongly dislike the Chiefs, but I still feel like the game itself it should be left on the field and not in the hands of officials, referees, or zebras. Like I said, whatever you want to call them. And so Jalen Ramsey signs a new contract extension with the Miami Dolphins, making him the highest paid DB. He signed the $72.3 million, $55.3 million guaranteed, putting it right around $24 million a year. And this is the thing for me is like, I'm happy for any cornerback that gets their bread. I feel like Sauce is going to be the one that said Sauce when he gets paid, because Patrick Surtain just became that guy. Jalen Ramsey jumps him. I feel like Sauce is going to be the next one up to get his big deal. And I feel like with how important these shutdown corners are, the pay gap between the wide receiver position and the cornerback position is something that really needs to be looked at. Because if you're expecting Sauce to be able to go up against Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and go stop him, $14 million or $16 million, honestly, because I think Justin Jefferson just got $40 million, where the highest paid person right now is Jalen Ramsey, and he's getting paid $24. $16 million gap for you to stop that person. Now, if you're just as good at your position as that person is at his, I feel like that pay gap shouldn't be that big of a difference. And so hopefully Sauce, when he gets his, he could be able to push that number closer to 30. But we'll see, because it's like you already given Aaron Rodgers that type a big deal. Garrett Wilson is in his second year, but he's eventually going to want his bread. Quentin Williams is going to eventually want his bread. They have a slew of DBs. I mentioned 3 DBs are in the top 15 at their positions for the New York Jets. So, but I do think to go to Jalen Ramsey, I think that his versatility, like I mentioned before when I was doing the position rankings, is one of the reasons why you pay him this type of money. You can put him on outside wide on a corner. You could put him in the slot. You could put him at safety. You could put him at box as a box linebacker, because he's big enough and physical enough to be able to come down, stop the run, make tackles in the open field. So I feel like he's very much warranted this type of deal. But I do feel like the pay gap between the cornerback position and the wide receiver position they need to close that gap in the end. And so next up, got some matchups coming up. I forgot to write it in, but I call this segment Who You Got? Got to get some cool graphics eventually. But right now, simple. Who you got? So, number 3. Did I not put that in there either? Dang, Ralph, you are tweaking, bro. So, we got number 3, Texas versus number 10, Michigan. I got Texas. In the end, I feel like Michigan, when we start to look at them toward the ending part of the year, we're gonna look, and I just don't think that right now, losing Harbaugh, losing JJ McCarthy, and the talent that they lost on both sides of the football, I just don't feel like they're a number 10 ranked team right now. I do feel like they're a good quality college football team, but I just don't think right now that I don't feel like they're that good to be ranked number 10. And so I do think Texas, how deep they got last year, bringing back a lot of their star quarterback and retooling, I feel like they're more warranted for their number 3 ranking than Michigan is for a number 10 ranking. So in the end, I got Texas. I don't really think it'll be that close, to be honest with you. But also, I'm an Ohio State fan, so I could just be hating. But hey, it is what it is. But I got number 3 Texas over number 10 Michigan. And then next up, we got Colorado goes to Nebraska. And this was a game that last year it started the whole Deion Sanders and Prime and his coach. I mean, as Coach Prime starting off his personal rant and that catchphrase that he had where it was personal, where they were winning games and going down and coaches were talking trash and he continued it on to when they played Nebraska. Now I mentioned earlier in the week that he had some good glowing things to say. He spoke glowingly about Coach Rule, and so I do feel like this game is going to be a lot more difficult than last year's game. They bring in Dylan, I think it's Raiola, Raiola, phenom quarterback. I hate when they start doing this Patrick Mahomes thing because in college, we did not think Patrick Mahomes was going to end up being Patrick Mahomes. So I hate that every quarterback that comes through that has a very interesting throwing motion that can throw from any arm angle, creative, big arm. I feel like I hate when we get to this point when we start comparing everybody to him. Caleb Williams got that comparison. Spencer Rattler got that comparison. And I think that the kid from Nebraska is nice. I think he's going to be good. I do think that it's going to come down to who takes care of the football, but also who can impose their will at the line of scrimmage. And I mentioned Colorado's struggle to do so, running the football while also being able to stop the run. I'm not necessarily sure if Nebraska can do what they do in the run game to be able to take over something like that, or that aspect of the game. So I am going to go with Colorado. I'm gonna take Coach Prime, Shador, Travis, and I think that Travis will have a type of game where he has a touchdown or two and an interception. And in the end, I feel like Colorado is going to get the victory over Nebraska. Although I do think this is going to be a hard-fought game. And so next up, where we got staying local, got Utah Tech taking on UNLV, who last week had a dominant performance against University of Houston, who over the past couple of years has put a good amount of NFL potential and NFL players into the draft and into the league. So UNLV, when I looked up and I saw that they were up by that many, I was just like, oh, wow. Like I didn't expect it. So they get a victory last week, 27-7 over the University of Houston. Now they got Utah Tech. And I think this one will be easy, quick work. I feel like as long as they stay disciplined, stay focused, I don't see this being really that close of a game, honestly. Jackson Woodard, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss last week with 11 tackles in total, 6 sacks altogether. The offense didn't necessarily have like a big game. They put up 27 points, but I do feel like the defense put them in positions to where all you got to do is just go score the football and score touchdowns, put points on the board, and we got it. And so I do feel like the defense is going to be able to do its thing. And I got UNLV in a rout, I guess you could say. Not necessarily a rout, but I feel like it'll be a dominating performance. And so tonight we got the Packers versus the Eagles. Man, this one's tough because I feel like the Eagles defense, they were terrible in tackling last year. And Jordan Love came on toward the second half of the season. And so I feel like this game can go either way. The Eagles have just so much talent on both sides of the ball. One thing I did find out is Devin White is not playing, which is one of the reasons why I felt so comfortable with them winning the NFC East. But I'm going to stick with the Eagles. I'm going to stick with Philly. I feel like Saquon Barkley will be able to do his thing. I feel like they have enough weapons. It's just a matter of, with the loss of Jason Kelsey, can they essentially hold up? And I feel like this is this is pretty much Jalen Hurts' opportunity to show that he's the captain and the leader of this team. I feel like last year he had a down year. Year before that, he was in All Pro conversations, MVP conversations, took his team to the Super Bowl and had a heck of a game, honestly. But I do feel like this game he has to outplay Jordan Love, and I feel like Jordan Love is such a, a well prepared talent right now, and Matt LaFleur is a hell of a coach. But I am going to go with the Eagles over the Packers. I got it to be in a close game. I think it'll come down to a field goal. But I do think it's interesting that they're playing in Brazil, especially because they're like a soccer town, not like their football is soccer. And so I got the Chicago Bears hosting the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to go Bears. You know me, although I am from Chicago, I'm not a Bears fan. But even more so, I'm not a Will Levis fan. I'm not sold. I feel like they had some really good additions through free agency and trades. I feel like their team, the Tennessee Titans, are going to be better, but I do feel like the Bears are just a better football team right now, offensively, defensively. So I am going to take the Bears over the Tennessee Titans. And then I got the Raiders visiting the Chargers. If you don't see this jersey behind me, I'm a Raider fan. My bias is going to say Las Vegas Raiders over the Chargers, although this game can go either way, honestly. Jim Harbaugh is a heck of a coach, returning to the NFL. He has Justin Herbert, but the offensive weapons are not really there. So I'm kind of curious to see what kind of offense, because Justin Herbert is not the athletes that Tyrod Taylor, Colin Kaepernick, Lamar Jackson. So with, I can't think of his name right now. I can't think of the offensive coordinator, but the offensive coordinator for all those three of those quarterbacks that I just mentioned, he has a run first offense. So it's like I just don't see it working. Greg Roman. I just don't see Greg Roman's offense working with Justin Herbert, who is a statuesque, not necessarily a statuesque, but because he's underrated in his mobility, but he's not the athletes that those quarterbacks were. So I just don't see how this could work. Now, this is a perfect opportunity for Greg Roman to show, like, hey, I can scheme up an offense for a quarterback to throw the football, which was the criticism when he was with Baltimore. And so I don't know. I just don't see it really working. I think the defense is going to be good. If Minshew can take care of the football, Raiders win. So I'm going to go my squad, Las Vegas Raiders, over the Chargers. And on to the Cowboys and Browns. And to some people, this might be a little bit of a surprise, but I'm going to go Cleveland Browns. I think that their defense is going to be enough to cause problems for the Cowboys. Hold up real quick. All right, let's see. Yeah, I feel like Deshaun Watson, although he's had some conversations about it's been some conversation about his shoulder and the health of his shoulder. If Deshaun Watson is playing, I got them winning. They're 8-4 with him at the helm as quarterback. Now he's not playing like the Deshaun Watson of the Houston Texans, but he's playing good enough to where he's not a detriment to the team. And so the record is 8-4. They do go up against Dak, who had a hell of a year last year. CeeDee Lamb is back. They signed Dalvin Cook, brought back Ezekiel Elliott. But I just don't think that – I think that the Browns' defense is so dominant and so much better than the Cowboys' defense that I'm going to go Cleveland Browns get a victory over Dallas as Dallas goes up to Cleveland to take that L. But I'm so excited. Football's back, man. Yes, last night was a hell of a game, although it didn't go the way that I was expecting it to go and hoping it would go. But I am happy as hell that football is back. And so we got the off tops. So AR-15, Angel Reese. Angel Reese debuts her podcast, Unapologetically Angel. And she had some things to say. She spoke about like her relationship with G Herbo and just being in Chicago. And she spoke about the beef between her and Caitlin Clark. And she believes that it's completely media driven. She's been playing against the girl since high school. She played and beat her when she was with the Maryland Terps. She goes to LSU, plays her again, gets the W, and beats her in a championship game. Loses to her in the Final Four, or no, she didn't lose to her. No, she did lose to her in the Final Four, if not Elite Eight. They was getting cooked. They couldn't really do much with Angel. Haley Van Lith was getting worked out there, and so I can see a lot of where she's coming from. I do personally feel like a lot of things that don't get talked about. I'm not to sit here and say, because there's a bunch of black media outlets that cape for Caitlin Clark, so I don't believe it's all the way racist, but I do feel like a lot of the negative criticism that comes toward Angel comes from a place of racism. And to sit here and ignore the fact that it's a white girl and a black woman, reminiscent of a Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, the way that Magic Johnson was perceived to be this loud, boisterous character, and Angel Reese goes to show with her having a podcast, her being a loud sports figure, sports personality, is just where Larry Bird and Caitlin Clark were quiet when it comes to off the court things. They're quiet. They talk their shit on the court. They ball out. They hoop. They go home. And so I do feel like there's certain aspects that I agree with when it came to certain things that she said. I do feel like I feel like with Angel, regardless if you believe it or not, I do feel like Angel definitely does not have a hatred for or hate on Caitlin. I think it's on the court, me versus you. You're not on my team, so F you at the end of the day. Now, if we start talking about Carter, I feel like she probably has a little bit of I don't fuck with her in her. And so I just don't feel like the way that they be making it seem like all of these players are just hating on Caitlin. I don't agree with that. I don't think that that's what it is. I feel like at the end of the day, we can't complain about how the men's sport is so soft and everybody's friends. And then when the women's sport, oh, now we're mad that nobody likes Caitlin. And it's just like, well, which one do you want? Do you want them to be friends or do you want them to not like each other? Because I think that either way, it makes good basketball. You can be friends and still be competitive. Like when me and my homies used to hoop against each other, shit, I'm pushing niggas on the floor. I'm elbowing folks. I'm hitting people hard when they come to the rim. Like it just is what it is. And so I feel like too often we got to pick a side. Like which one are we really going to do here? And so ultimately, I like that she's doing this. She can control her narrative. She can get her voice out there. And so looks like every Thursday we're gonna get an unapologetically Angel podcast. And so Keldon Johnson, guard for the San Antonio Spurs. Shout out to him because he gives up his number, the number he wore, the number 3. Chris Paul signed with the San Antonio Spurs. So the CP3 era is going to continue for however long that he plays with San Antonio, but he has the number 3. Keldon Johnson gave up the number. The specifics of whether or not he paid him for it, because that's typically what most people would do. Pay for the number. Yo, let me get that number up off you. This is how much I'm willing to offer. And so CP3 continues to get the number 3 jersey with the San Antonio Spurs. And so we'll see what role he takes with the team, how much playing time he's actually going to get. And so Caleb Williams' number is being retired with the USC Trojans. And I just don't feel like it should be it should be retired. I don't quite get it. Maybe it's me being a hater again, but him winning a Heisman is cool, but he didn't win no championship. He didn't even win a Pac-12 championship, and I just don't see why he got his number retired. Now, another thing that they did was they brought back Reggie Bush's number. So with the numbers that you see that are retired, you see that number 5 Reggie Bush number is now retired as well. Or not now, but it was retired. They took it away. They brought it back. And so big shout out to them for bringing back Reggie Bush's number and retiring it. But I don't get why Caleb Williams' number is retired. Like, I think last year they went 8-5. And he has a Heisman win. He's a Heisman winner, number 1 pick. But I just don't think he did enough for USC to be to get his number retired. It just is what it is. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping. But excuse me, it is what it is. But I got to get up out of here. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope y'all have a good day out there in TV land. Make sure you go use that promo code at w.com. 20% off. They have canned drinks, powdered drinks. Got some here. I got started off with some samples before I went ahead and did it, but this one's really delicious. Got that Dragonade, jitterless, clean, no crash energy drink, but they have cans. They have powdered energy drink form in that form. But you get 20% off. Use my promo code JUK or Juke. Make sure you go like, subscribe, comment, share on all those good things. Like the He Say, She Say channel on Facebook. Subscribe at Juke Media or Joint Universal Creatives with a K. On YouTube, we're trying to run up the numbers and get us to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Make sure you go and follow us at Juke Sports Show. No more J.U.K. Juke Sports Show on Instagram. Make sure you go follow me at KYNGRALPH on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, add an X or add an underscore for X or Twitter. And like the shirt says, back to back. But I mean, they're struggling right now, but we still got a little bit of time to get it together. But like I always end it, love, peace,